So unlike Tim, I know a lot about hurricanes. You see, I grew up in New Orleans, and my earliest memory of growing up in New Orleans is one of them is when a hurricane hit. And we were getting ready for it, and my father grabbed all the lawn furniture out in the backyard and took this big rope and tied it to the giant cypress tree that was in our backyard. And my siblings and I ran around to all the windows, and we were putting tape on the windows that were masking tape on the windows, so when something flew through the window, the masking tape somehow would stop it. And it was insane. We were in the dark, the power went out, and there we were in our house, all cuddled together, looking at things flying by in the windows. And it must have gone on for hours and hours with the rain and the lightning and the storm. And finally, the four of us fell asleep on the floor of the den. And when we woke up the next morning, it was beautiful. And it was sun shining. And the New Orleans was still all there. Things were tossed and turned, but I got to experience the city again, and it bounced back. I can't begin to tell you what it was like to grow up in New Orleans. I mean, music and food and laughter and dancing permeate the air everywhere. You walk down the street and there is a band playing. You hear band coming out of a restaurant. Music coming out of a restaurant. You hear and see life happening all the time. And it is so hot and moist, you watch destruction happening all the time. It's a city so filled with life and so filled with rot. It's so magical. And its energy infused me. But there's also something about it too. It's a southern city. So it has a laissez-faire attitude as well. And things stay the same, and the people stay the same. And if you may have noticed in the 2 minutes I've been talking here, I have a lot of energy. and I don't really know what it's like to sit still. It was never a skill set of mine to sit still and pause. So here I am talking about the power of the pause. This is true irony, folks. It's an anathema to me. I don't know what it is to slow down. My music director over here and my husband will tell you that is absolutely true. So I eventually left New Orleans and found myself in the midst of New York City. And I was a dancer, trying to be a dancer in Manhattan on Broadway. And the energy of the city from the second I got there matched me. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I dove in. I was taking all the classes. I was up at night in nightclubs all over, Studio 54 and all the other clubs of New York. And I loved all the energy. I loved the possibilities. I saw shows and was drawn to shows while I was becoming a performer that transformed the human experience. I was blown away by seeing a show called The Elephant Man. In its original Broadway run, it blew me away because I was so moved by the inhumanity that we treated a human being with. And I walked out of the theater profoundly transformed. Profoundly transformed. And I tried in my work to always do shows and bring that transformative energy to the work I did in theater. When eventually my theater life ended, because dancers have a short shelf life, I transitioned into directing and choreographing. But then I also fell in love with someone who's sitting in the room and changed my life when we got a job offer for him to come to California. And I said to him quite bluntly, sorry, I am not leaving California. I'm not leaving New York without a ring on my finger. And he took a few minutes and figured out what that meant and found a way to propose to me that actually surprised me. So we ended up here in California. And so this New Yorker's energy in San Francisco was a little bit of culture shock. I just have to say that it is really lovely here. It's really pretty in hippie town, but they don't do anything fast here. And the convenience stores are not convenient for us. They're only convenient for the people who own them. My dry cleaner opened at 10 a.m. What's that about? So used the opportunity to reinvent myself. And I went to ministerial school and I started in the path of unity. And I found a way to use that desire of my heart to make a difference in people's lives and to create an atmosphere and a space where people can really understand the innate power that lies within them and to transform themselves into something greater than they've ever experienced before in their lives. Ministerial school was another journey of that, fitting my energy into a very different box, right? They taught us in ministerial school how to sit and meditate, how to be still and quiet. But in my experience, I learned that communal experience, that ecstasy in movement. I was like the whirling dervish, and in some of my most elevated moments were in movement, in dance, in ecstasy, in connection to all that is in the universe. And so I struggled for how to do that, but I found my way through it and found my voice. What was most important to me is that I needed to be authentic, who I was. So I developed retreats. I did 3-day, 5-day, 7-day retreats. I did silent retreats. I did moving retreats. I incorporated my love of movement into all that I do. And then J-Day one day came to us. I've been here working at Unity San Francisco, building this community, teaching and loving every minute of it. And he said, hey, I got offered us this retreat, this 1 day to breathe. And I said, well, I can't even relax in a day. What are you talking about? It would take me longer than that to get to it. But I said, this is a gift. I'm being given a gift. And I changed my mind and said, yes, I need to carve out a day, not a week, just a day, and see what that brings to me. So there I was. I found myself in this beautiful house being led by 2 incredible Sherpas, bringing me to the edge of the land's edge, looking out at the beautiful gateway to San Francisco Bay, the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and true serenity. About halfway through the day, we were supposed to take a nature walk. And so I go out on the trail on Land's End, and they have signs that say, please keep on the trail. And I said, well, that I'm not listening to. And I walked right over the edge, and I climbed up into this grove of eucalyptus trees, and I found myself perched amongst all the trunks and the bark, and I was sitting there just enjoying the beauty of the blue water and the magnificence of the trees around me, and found the ability, like the trees, not to have to move, not to have to do anything except to be. And it was so beautiful. In a moment, in an instant, with a single breath, you can transform yourself. You can transform the energy of your heart. You can transform the world around you. And you can go from frenetic to serene by just choosing to be in that moment, to shift from the human doing to the human being. So as I sat there in the peace and the serenity and with my journal, I wrote down this. The eucalyptus tree does not hesitate to shed its calcified, hardened bark in order to become a more magnificent version of who it's meant to be. I invite you with me right here and right now to take a deep breath, to fill your lungs, to exhale and shed the calcified, hardened bark that you no longer need, to shed the thoughts that are holding you back, the beliefs that I can't, I'm not enough, there's not enough. And breathe in once again and join with me in the eucalyptus trees as they stand where we're planted, shed what no longer serves us, and become more and more the magnificent beings we're here to be. Namaste.